What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today, we're going to talk a little TikTok. That's right. It has been in the news. I'm recording this Sunday afternoon. I want to preface that because the situation around this seems to be changing fairly frequently. So I want to just make sure that that's time-stamped in case something wild and crazy has happened from the time I record this on Sunday evening to when it goes live Monday morning. But really what this boils down to is this. There is it sounds like a decent chance TikTok is going to get banned in the US. Now, like I said, a lot could change, but let's, for the hypothetical sake of this video, assume a ban happens. Now, how does TikTok relate to cards? Even though I have a sneaking suspicion, most of you all, the viewers, probably, and maybe I'm wrong on this, you all tell me in the comments down below, do you use TikTok to purchase cards on? Have you made card transactions on TikTok? Myself personally, I have not. I've never bought, sold. I barely even have the app installed on my phone. I think I downloaded it once, but never actually created an account, so they probably own all my information. But a lot of people, from what I could tell, just snooping around on there and, you know, in the social sphere, I think a lot of card transactions go down on TikTok between breakers, repackers, all that sort of stuff. And I've said this 1,000 times, even though we don't necessarily interact with that side or portion of the hobby, and I guess I'm speaking more for myself, I'm generalizing here a little bit, that doesn't mean that it won't necessarily affect other portions. The sports card market, the TCG market, the comic book market, they are all each their own individual ecosystem, and in some cases those ecosystems overlap. Sports cards and TCGs right now are heavily overlapping. A lot of the same people are getting into both. A lot of dealers are cross-pollinating. And if TikTok suddenly goes away, that is a lot of breakers, repackers, rip and shippers on the Pokemon side that suddenly do not have an outlet to sell. Now, you might say, oh, well, they'll just move to Instagram, they'll move to YouTube, they'll move to Twitch, wherever. They'll just go somewhere else, and their audience will follow them. In some cases, some of your audience will follow you. Not all of your audience will. Now, if the platform completely goes away, maybe it's a little bit different, but generally speaking, it is hard to get an audience to follow you. It truly is. Especially in a situation like that where you're just there essentially supplying a product. Maybe there's some personal relationship there, you know, I don't know. But it is not the easiest thing just to convert your audience to a new platform. Then you, as a seller, have to learn a new platform. Maybe it's Whatnot. Maybe it's Fanatics Live. Like I said, maybe it's YouTube. Maybe it's Instagram. Who knows? There are plenty of places out there to go. But does the audience follow them? And in the meantime, before these people get set up, and hopefully if they're smart, they've already had, you know, accounts set up at these other places and have been slowly porting audience over because TikTok has been in the news for a while. Does that disruption in services, if you will, slow things down at all? You know, if all of a sudden repackers and breakers on TikTok aren't burning through inventory as much anymore, if rip and shippers aren't burning through inventory as much, if the repackers over there don't need as much supply because their repack business has slowed down a little bit, or maybe even temporarily paused, could that negatively impact prices? Now, I'm not going to say this is the catalyst for another, oh my God, everything's going to zero, things are dropping 30, 40, 50, 60%, or anything crazy like that. I don't think it's like that. But I think it could have a little bit of an effect. I absolutely do. I think it could have a bigger effect on the Pokemon side of things, potentially, than the sports card side of things. But I don't live in that world, so it's hard for me to know for sure. The one thing I do know is a decent chunk of business goes down on that platform. I don't know where it ranks compared to, and I don't know that anyone does because the companies don't share their data, Like the number of sports cards that sell on TikTok compared to Whatnot, compared to Fanatics Live, compared to eBay, compared to, you know, whatever else. I'm sure eBay is probably number one, but I would be willing to bet a decent chunk of money a large quantity of transactions go down on TikTok. And if that just poof goes to zero instantly, that's going to have some ripple effects, unintended or not. There will be consequences from all of a sudden a bunch of sellers no longer having the same audience that they had to sell to. Like I said, maybe they poured over and they have still have an audience, but maybe it is slightly smaller. Who knows? This should also be a good reminder to anybody out there, whether you're in business or a content creator or just your average person that uses social media and you have a pretty decent following. Make sure that you are on multiple platforms, multiple avenues, because you never know. Now, this is kind of an extreme example, but stuff happens. You know, something crazy could happen. And, you know, I've seen videos of YouTube channels just basically being deleted because the Google algorithm is like, oh, yeah, that channel did something wrong. And then it is hell, even though they did nothing wrong, it is hell to get that back. I've seen both sides of that coin where the people lose the channel forever, and in some cases they get it back, but then it's like never really the same. And those are concerns when, especially if it's your business, relies on one of these platforms. I mean, imagine you started a business on TikTok, a card business, and you spun up all this equipment, inventory, etc., and things are going great. And all of a sudden, the government's like, no, TikTok's gone. And you didn't have a backup. That's a little scary. You know, it might be worth it to say, hey, once a week, twice a week, we're going to sell on Whatnot too. Or we're going to go live on Twitch. Or we're going to go live on YouTube or something like that. So your audience gets used to seeing you over there. You know, one thing I've never done, but a lot of people say is smart to do, is do like a newsletter or something like that. I can't write for shit. I could barely spell a YouTube title correctly. But a lot of people do newsletters because it gives you direct interaction with your audience via email. Myself, you know, I have Instagram, I have Twitter, I do have a Discord. Shout out to the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, links in the description of the video down below. It's free to join, just in there chit-chatting about stuff. I have other outlets. If YouTube went away tomorrow or nuked my channel or something like that, it would suck. It would majorly suck. But to some degree or another, I would still have access to at least my core audience. The people that follow me on multiple social platforms is a subset of my core audience. I'm sure there's plenty of people that watch every single video that don't even have Instagram. Shout out to you all. But at least a small portion of my audience would still be somewhat attached to me. And I think that's something important to think about if you have any sort of social following. Maybe you don't even have a full business around it. Maybe you just flip cards, but you have a bunch of Instagram followers. I know people that sell cards and have way more Instagram followers than I do. You know, make a Twitter account, make a Blue Sky, have your own Discord, whatever the case might be. That stuff's important. But we'll see what happens here. It sounds like we're going to get news on this for sure, one way or the other here in the next couple days, maybe a week or two at most. And the Supreme Court, both sides of the government, or both parties in the government, seem to be thinking this thing's out of here. And like I said, I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to have some sort of impact on things. Does this suck the wind out of the sail? I think the biggest concern is the Pokemon side, because it's red hot right now and the rip and ships are driving a lot of demand. And I believe a lot of that business does go down on TikTok. A lot of the younger audiences are flocking to that platform. So we'll see what happens. It might not even be anything that you see. It could go away next week, and then you might not feel the ripple effects of it for a month or two. And you might not even realize that that's what caused it. We'll see. Or it might be a big nothing burger. We'll find out. That's all I got. As always, curious for your thoughts and comments down below. Catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.